So I felt like I had a hidden nickname for a significant portion of my career as a Vader executive officer, and sometimes half joking, but sometimes strikingly accurate. And I was a turnaround guy for private equity firms. I was the guy who was called in after the investment premise failed. Sometimes the third CEO in 3 years. And I was good at it. I'd fix things, cut costs, rationalize, justify, do all the things that a turnaround guy is supposed to do. But this isn't a story about financial engineering. This is a story about transformation and moving from a turnaround guy to someone that's leading with values and beliefs and yes, love. And so this portion of the journey that I'm going to talk about, transformation, started in 2007. I was hired to lead a struggling company, and the expression I used is they called a doctor when they needed a mortician. It was only 90 days of runway left in the business, and so we were planning on a restructuring, but Wachovia, which was one of the first banks to go out, withdrew financing for a restructuring, and so it went from a restructuring to a liquidation on a Sunday night 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. And so I had to terminate 500 people at that time. It was really hard on me, and it really took something away from me. A big crack kind of formed, and I felt really hollow at the end of that. My wife will tell you that I took a sabbatical for a few months and spent a lot of time at the lake reflecting about what I wouldn't do anymore. And there was a deeper seed that had been planted in the early 90s. I was part of a very successful steel startup, mini mill, actually 2 miles from Andrew Carnegie's first steel mill in Pittsburgh, Braddock, Pennsylvania. And we did some really great stuff. I was the plant manager. Put everything I had into it. We had 3 children, and I'm in the middle of a startup, 100-hour weeks, and literally sleeping under my desk to make this process work. And we successfully bought out our sub-debt holders within 3 years, and so that meant the 5 partners in the business created a lot of wealth, as you can imagine. And so the time came to talk about what our stake in the outcome would be, and I was passed over. 5 partners, 1 active in the business, the others investors, and 2 other principals. 2 of my peers were given profit shares, but I was not. And it really hurt, and I was frustrated and walked out in a huff and moved on at that time. And we had high performance work teams, and I had read that Inc. article, and it really was formative. Again, this was the early 90s. And, yeah, I want to do what Jack Stack's doing in this company that I was leading. But for years after the Hoboken ordeal, I refused the call. I went and did 3 more turnarounds, but they were like false wins, modest restructuring, salvaging what we could for the investors, and I wasn't making anything really permanent out of what I was doing, and did the best I could to make these businesses flourish, but they all just kind of stumbled along in the hands of private equity. And I would say to myself, this is just business. Hey, stay strong, do what you're supposed to do. Somebody has to do this job, make the tough calls, and so that's what I did. And then in 2016, everything changed for me. Someone that I had been in a Vistage group with for a long time had called me. Joe Helmsing was the founder of Craftsmen Industries, and he said, "Mark, my business is in trouble. I need someone to help me turn it around. Would you come help me? And I hope you fall in love with the business, and I'd love to have you buy the business and be the next owner of this business." And Joe had grown the business for 35 years. Every dollar he made, he put back into the business. And then in 2007, he sold it to private equity. and it didn't go well. You all know what happened, with the financial crisis. And so in 2014, he bought it back for about 15 cents on the dollar, and it was in distress. And he called me in late 2015 and said, hey, I need this help. And I tell people, I think it was the only turnaround guy he actually knew personally. So Joe gave me the opportunity. We turned around the business quite quickly. They put together a purchase agreement for me to invest. And so I invested at the end of 2016. And this was something really different. It wasn't somebody else's company. It wasn't part of a portfolio. This was ours. My wife works in the business. 2 of my sons were involved in the business. And it really was something special and really different. And then in 2019, I was looking for a new tribe. Like I said, I had some Vistage experience, but I wasn't getting out of Vistage what I had hoped. And Michael Dierberg from First Bank actually referred me to Tugboat. And I read the principles, and I just, it really resonated with me, really made a big difference in my thinking, and I was excited about joining, and ended up joining in 2021. And it was a flashback to those early 90s, principles of how we started up that company so successfully. And so I started crossing this threshold when I invested in Craftsmen, and moving from short-term to long-term, focus on EBITDA, but to focus on enduring, focus on being transformative instead of transactional. And up to this point, I was all about building my track record, and now it was about building a legacy. Rather than me, it was them. Rather than the firm, it was about the people. And rather than focusing on execution, it was really about care. And rather than just grinding on performance, showing real love for the people, and people who could carry this forward, and not for me, but for themselves. So, at this time, I had a lot of baggage to deal with, decades of these instincts, that I had to unlearn, habits I had to unlearn, impulses, control, having to solve everything myself, constant sense of urgency. And I faced doubts, could I convince all these people to act and think like owners? And would it erode my authority, make me irrelevant? A lot of these characteristics, this imposter syndrome that, some of us carry around, having these doubts about where I was headed. But I had allies, my wife Donna, my leadership team, mentors, and so many of you really were helping me, in this journey that I was on. And and I also had to fight the biggest enemy. It was me and my ego, and that Darth Vader voice still in my head. And the people frequently ask me, what was the hardest part of all this, Mark? And I say it was giving myself a personality transplant. Really doing the hard work, self-awareness, introspection, evaluation, and then working to rewire these behaviors. I had never been in a single place for more than 3 years in my entire career. My wife and I have moved over 15 times. I've been here 9 years. It's a real change. And like I said, a lot of things to unlearn and new things to learn. And and top all this off, I had a personal identity crisis that started to unfold in early 24 when I was starting to pursue a potential buyout of the business. I found out that my father, at the age of 61, was not my father. I had a lot of baggage. So the real challenge, the hardest moment, was thinking about moving to an ESOP. So I approached the partners. I owned 51%. The founding family owned 49%. I said, look, in 27, when I turn 65, I want to step away and I want to do an ESOP. And they said, we're not interested in an ESOP. We bet on you. We're willing to bet on you, but we're not willing to bet on someone else. We would want the business to go to transaction. And so I had a purchase agreement that expired at the end of 24. That meant I had to execute a buyout in about 12 months. And so I had to convince my wife that, because we had paid off the debt we had accumulated to buy the first 49%, and I had to convince her to let us go borrow 5 times that amount because we had made the business more valuable. And we hadn't had any liquidity. You know, COVID and all that stuff, it affected us, and so we hadn't had any liquidity. And so I said, yeah, you know that bathroom you want to remodel? Couple more years. But she was really supportive, said, you know, let's go for it. And so now we had to go borrow 8 figures kind of money. And so this was early 24, and we struggled to go raise this money. We talked to over 40 banks, and lots of people were willing to lend us 2.5, up to 2.5 times, but nobody would lend us 3 times. And so we talked to sub-debt people. We talked to even minority private equity investors. And so Jack was really supportive, and I came to Dave and I said, Dave, I have an opportunity, just a little strip of private equity would give me a little bit of liquidity, a little bit of breathing room, and you know, and I think it really would be the best solution. And Dave said, Mark, the private equity folks will not settle for minority ownership. He said, don't do it. And I said, Dave, you know, I really, really think this is the best way to go. And Dave offered me some additional encouragement. He said, you know that Evergreen certification that you guys just qualified for? Yeah, you won't get that. And he said, you take $1 of private equity money and you can no longer remain a member of the Tugboat community. And this was in an email, and he closed it warmly. Dave. I kid you not. So we had a nice exchange over that. But he encouraged me, hey, Mark, keep searching. You'll find it. Just keep going back at it. And I remembered the story of Jack. Jack said they went after like 100 potential lenders for his business when they were trying to get their funding for SRC. And so went back at it. And finally, UMB Bank out of Kansas City, they really fell in love with the Evergreen story. And I didn't know this about them, but they're a 3rd generation family, mostly family-controlled public company. And so, you know, they're a public company, I get it, but they still seem to practice those Evergreen values. And they were willing to offer us the 3 times, and then a couple other banks said, well, if they'll do it, we'll do it. And so we did the deal with UMB, and then that put us back on track to pursue the ESOP. In 2027, we bought out the family right before Summit last year. So what are we getting back? More than we ever imagined. We're not losing control. Because people, when they have a chance to own something, they show up differently, they think differently, and most importantly, they seem to care differently. And today I see that evolving every day. We're talking openly about our intention to become an ESOP in 27, and people are thinking long term. And these people don't want to just work for this company, they want to own the company. And I'm using the expression, I'm looking forward to the day when they take the company from me. I really am hoping to make that happen. And so there's a beautiful paradox in this that, you know, I need to give it away and let go to truly own it and gain the personal gratification that I was looking for. And that's what Evergreen taught me. Permanence beats performance, people beat process, and patience beats heavy-handedness. So I have the opportunity to reflect on how many people I get to share, will get to share in the success this time, and how many people will get a real stake in the outcome, and also what will remain when I'm gone. So I'm focusing a lot of my time, effort, and energy on making really good handoffs of the operations of the business to our team. And my personal mission is to light as many fires in as many people as I possibly can. And Dawn and I are gaining the commitment and real personal peace about doing the right thing. And we're not weakening the company by letting go. We feel we're strengthening it. So I'm no longer the Chief Vader officer. I'm striving to be a builder and giver, a believer, a steward of something bigger than myself, an old man in the shoe. And yes, we built that. We get to do some amazing things at Craftsmen Industries. And so here's what I want to offer, the elixir that I bring back for all of us. We don't need more exit strategies. We need more enduring strategies. Let us build our businesses to outlast each of us and leave it in a way that people can grow into. Please ask yourself who gets to share in your success and what will remain when you're no longer in the room. And you don't have to wait for your own hero's journey. Please, when that call happens, please accept it. And please have the courage to pursue it. We can build for permanence by following the Evergreen principles. So when we lead with love, we lead beyond our lifetime, and when we share success, we multiply it. So let us not lead for performance. Let us strive to lead in a widely shared legacy. So I humbly leave you with just one ask. Please consider that there may be other Vader-like private equity or corporate wretches similar to me, people who have the skills and heart that could contribute to the success of your Evergreen company. Please let us nurture them. And so I'd like to leave you with a phrase from my father-in-law's favorite song, who was a humble hero to me. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Was once lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. I'm so grateful for the grace that I gained from the tugboat community and each of you, my Evergreen brothers and sisters.